Hi, everybody! We're back to offer more recommendations for books, movies, music, and more that you can check out from the Carmel Clay Public Library. I'm Catherine, and I'm joined today by Aggie and Julie. Aggie, what do you have for us this week?
This week, I discovered a great little gem that I saw on a talk show. Bill Maher. I know not everybody's a fan, but I'm really glad I ran into this episode because I found Annabelle Gurwitch's "You're Leaving When," and it is hilarious. And pretty much all of her memoirs are kind of just different periods of her life. Her last one was about her life as a married woman and their family, and now she's back because she got divorced and she wasn't expecting it. And I'm sure there are people out there that can relate to that. And but they describe her as Irma Bombeck meets Dorothy Parker. So she's got really sharp wit, great little references that she pops in there. And it's about when she first got divorced, she lives in LA, and just various adventures in getting shared roommates, trying to downsize. Her parents pass away, and I know a lot of people have these days, especially, they don't want their parents' stuff. But she got all this stuff from her parents, and one of my great little tidbits from the book is she's talking about, oh, maybe I'll have my Antiques Roadshow moment because my dad had a vintage Rolex and it'll be worth tons of money. And she looks at the watch a little closer, and it's a Rolex. So that wasn't going to happen for her. And she gets a roommate who's French that then, of course, he smokes a ton, watches Netflix. He's much younger than her, and she's like, "This, forget it. I'm just going to live in a hovel. I don't need a roommate." Her son goes off to college, and so dealing with him is a thing, and just some of her the witticisms that are too numerous to count. I want to read a couple of her other books too now, and it's a laugh out loud, hilarious book, and I'm really glad I discovered it. It's thin, it's not, not a heavy book, but it'll make you it's so relatable and just hilarious, and I would recommend anybody who needs a good laugh and is like, I get it, that one's for you. Also, I watched the Hemingway documentary, Ken Burns, a couple weeks ago, and for some reason, I always have been fascinated by Hemingway. So I went back and I watched Midnight in Paris, which has all those writers in the 20s, in there, and just I loved Paris Wife several years ago, and I watched a movie, Hemingway and Gellhorn, with Clive Owen and Nicole Kidman. So that was great. We have it at the library. So there's a lot of Hemingway resources out there to check out if you watched it and were also fascinated. So right now I'm on a roll. I've got a lot of good books, so I'll have something new to recommend next time.
Thank you, Aggie. And what about you, Julie?
So I am actually going to recommend what Aggie was just talking about, and that's the Hemingway documentary by Ken Burns and Lynn Novick. It just came out recently. It's on DVD at the library. I finished it about a week ago, and I'm still thinking about the content and his life and his personality and the effects that it had on the people around him and his family. He's best known, Ernest Hemingway is best known for his writing. It earned him both Pulitzer and Nobel Prizes for his fiction. He was definitely a flawed and troubled man, and the documentary does not shy away from those parts of his darker life, which I appreciate. Even though those people who haven't read his work will still be fascinated by his life story, and it was anything but ordinary. The documentary covers his love of hunting and fishing and bullfighting and women, as well as his struggles with depression and alcoholism, which cast a dark shadow over a large part of his life. A variety of writers, as well as Hemingway's son Patrick, share their perspectives throughout the 6-hour documentary. It's broken up into episodes, so it makes it a little bit more digestible. Actor Jeff Bridges reads as Hemingway throughout the documentary, and that gives life to Hemingway's letters and writings that are featured. So it is available, as I mentioned, on DVD. The music featured in the documentary is also available on CD at the library. And then, as Aggie mentioned, once you've watched and you're feeling inspired to either read for the first time or reread some of his works, the library offers a lot of novels by Hemingway, short stories, movies based on his life in a variety of formats. And by other authors, as Aggie mentioned, that cover it from a fictional point of view, which are good and fun to read as well. Catherine?
Well, that sounds great. I'm going to have to put that on my list because it seems like we're entering that TV lull that happens every summer where no new shows are coming out. And with the pandemic, it just seems so much worse. So I'm definitely going to look into that. That sounds great. And with 2 good recommendations, definitely adding that to my list. Well, I just read a book that just came out in April, and it's called Folklorn by Angela Mi Young Her, and she is a Korean American Swedish author. And I would suggest Folklorn if you really liked The Immortalists by Chloe Benjamin or American Gods, which was just canceled by Stars. I'm so angry about that. Or if you're really just into magical realism or sci-fi, or tales of immigrant stories. Folklorn tells us about Elsa, who is a Korean American particle physicist. And I love that Angela Mi Young her husband, is a particle physicist. So she had research help in her house while she was working on this book. And Elsa learns that she can't run from ancient magic when her mother's prophetic warning that the women in their family were cursed and destined to repeat the lives of their ancestors. Which, right there, I could tell this woman had children because Elsa, magic, family curses, like this sounds a little familiar, Disney. But this was unlike anything I've read recently in such a good way. It has the reemergence of Elsa's childhood imaginary friend. But it also touches upon, we have a great mix here of Korean folklore and also the reality of mental illness and generational traumas and about being an immigrant. And it was very moving, and it really led me to read a lot more on North Korea and South Korea and American Korean immigrants. It was really interesting. That book is now available, Folklorn, at hoopladigital.com, 24/7, no holds as a digital ebook, and our 24/7 always available collection. So thank you to Aggie and Julie for their fantastic recommendations. We're on a Hemingway kick this month, apparently. It's awesome. And we also have many books by Hemingway in print and in our digital collection. You can check out more by visiting us at our website at carmelclaylibrary.org. Thank you so much for viewing, and we'll see you next month.